Hello and welcome back, everyone. Happy Friday. Today we are going to be taking a look at Tinto Maps number 4, which is going to be covering Poland, Lithuania, Ruthenia, and a little bit of Russian regions, so shout out to all you Eastern Europe enjoyers. This is going to be for the game Project Teaser, aka Europa Universalis 5. We think... and so, without further ado, let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 4th Tinto Maps. The feedback we've received so far has been great, and there will be news soon regarding the map fixes that we've already done. Really like how they're going place by place and doing this map release thing, because there are a lot of people who live in these places who, man oh man, can they really correct the game designers on a lot of information, because, you know, they live there and they've studied the history there. And so, in some sense, what they're doing here is crowdsourcing research, and I'm really excited about it. But also, this isn't a happy Friday. What's up with that? Okay, let's continue. This week we will be showing you Poland, Lithuania, Ruthenia, and the Baltic region. Let's check it out without further ado. Well, okay, yeah, sure. Yep. We a dude, and then they a dude, and then further a dude was a dude, and then now we're just a dude, abiding. A bigger picture of what's going on in this region today, as we hadn't shown it entirely before. To the west, the Kingdom of Poland is ruled by Casimir and the House of Piast. It is not a completely unified region, as there are several powerful vassals under him. Most of them also Piast themselves. Really love the deep purple color of Lithuania here. To the east, the Duchy of Lithuania is ruled by the Gediminas, who have greatly expanded the influence of the country into the Russian lands. A note of the I've never read this dynasty before. Gediminas entitled himself in diplomatic correspondence king, but was considered by the Pope to be king or duke, and the title Grand Duke wouldn't be formally adopted until later, most likely replacing the Russian title Grand Prince. That's why Lithuania starts out as a duchy, although it will have an event that will make it possible to adopt the dynastic name of Grand Duchy. So we do see the very large duchy of Lithuania here. To the south, the principalities of Kiev and Galicia, Volhynia, have recently fallen under foreign influence. The first ruled by Theodore, brother of Gediminas, of Lithuania, the second by Yuri, the second also from the Piast dynasty. To the north, the Teutonic and Livonian orders. Man, we're hearing a lot about dynasties. I feel like more, well, maybe this isn't more than the previous ones. To the north, the Teutonic and Livonian orders, which conquered the lands of Prussia and Livonia a century ago, are at war against Poland and Lithuania after establishing a long rivalry. Also, side note, we will be talking about Moldavia in the Tinto maps devoted to the Carpathian region, as it is currently a placeholder spot. I don't know what that means in terms of it's a placeholder spot if they're planning on replacing the entire country. I know someone else is planning on replacing that entire country, but I guess we just ignore that for now. But this is our first time seeing a map mode for the war. New map mode, the diplomatic one. The game starts out with an ongoing war between Poland, Lithuania, and their respective vassals on one side, and the Teutonic and Livonian order and Bohemia and his vassals on the other. So we do get a little bit of a look at the diplomat. This is nice and clear and unambiguous. I kind of like it, right? It's gray and red, and it's clear to see what's going on. We're playing as Poland here. The people who are allied with us are in the green, or they're our subjects, and we are very clearly fighting these people. I don't know why this is checkered. But maybe it's occupation. Occupation's probably it, right? So they've probably occupied this, we've occupied this other stuff, something like this, maybe? Really nice. Nice and clean, like, super easy on the eyes and clear to read. So I do like that map. We have locations, which, I'm not that familiar with Eastern Europe. I don't often play these map games in Eastern Europe, and so my geography of these regions is not the best. We do see a little bit of a mountain range here that's kind of clearly marked by looking at stuff from the locations. Here you are the locations of Poland, Lithuania, Ruthenia, and the Baltic regions. Some issues that have already been reported by our Polish co-workers are the inconsistencies in the location naming in Polish, we'll use proper Polish letters more thoroughly, and we've also started to review both the Polish and Baltic locations based on early feedback you gave us. Oh, and the Vistula and Kurian region lagoons missing as a bug, we'll properly re-add them when we're doing map reviews. So we do see the feedback is, well, this is feedback from their coworkers, but really the I think that this I'm so happy that people asked to see the maps, and now that they can like crowdsource all this like regional stuff, because man, oh man, is it there's so many players, like, relative to developers, right? And so the odds that developers are going to miss something are extraordinarily high, which of course always triggers players, but that's like how it is. And then the chances that, a ton of players miss something, regarding naming or what's where and this type of stuff is much, much, much lower. Especially because people are like highly specialized, nerd out about stuff. Here we see the province, the provincial map mode. I don't have anything crazy to say here. I wish that, we do see some sort of coloration for like larger regions. I wish that the coloring would maybe be more grouped, where like we would see this Polish-Lithuania region all be kind of this greenish color, and then Russia maybe up here, maybe there's like a lot more purple, and like but you do see a little bit of the grouping based on the colors already, and maybe that's a weird complaint, but it does seem to overall be green, and while clearly showing different larger regions, right? So Minsk has several locations in it, right? It has several of these locations, including Minsk, and then it is part of this like larger region, including Minsk, Masyr, Babruysk. Man, very sorry to all the Poles who are watching this and hearing me butcher every piece of everything. So any suggestions for provincial naming are pretty welcome, as the last dev diary. So you can always leave feedback on the forums. And here we see something I thought was pretty interesting, which is, or I took a little bit of note of, it's entirely continental, this is the first one we've seen that's entirely continental. For the most part, taking a look at the Tinto maps from last week, when we looked at France, for example, almost everything was oceanic, and everything was oceanic in Iberia, and everything was oceanic in the Netherlands. And so far we've actually seen almost entirely oceanic, and now we just see entirely continental, nice and clean. It's just continental. It'll be really nice to see the entire world map with some of these. I know people are stitching together, multiple maps on Reddit and stuff and posting them, and so we will get a bigger picture of what's going on as things move forward, which is going to be nice to see unfold. Kind of scrolling down, we see it's almost entirely flatlands. This is the most consistent I think we've seen regarding what the topography is going to be. It's just all flat except for some marshes here and there. They said they were going to add some marshes, and so there's maybe a little bit more for them to do in that regard. We do see mountains and hills, which we'll kind of come back to that in a second. But then we also see, in terms of vegetation, we see large forested areas, almost entirely woods, and this is, I'm excited to see what the importance or significance of woods versus forest versus grasslands versus farmlands. We see, it is my intuition, based on playing EU4 and also them showing some bonuses for some things, that farmlands are going to be generally the most valuable territory, and for this region we do see some farmlands here up in where the Livonian Order is. Is that modern-day Lithuania? I think it's... no, not Lithuania, sorry, I was gonna... Latvia. I think Riga is, like, here, right? And then we have a bunch of grass, or some grasslands here. Overall, not very grasslanded. And we see a lot of forest. And I think that if there's a lot of forest and woods, it's maybe going to be interesting to think, well, how's our economy going to look different when we're extremely wood-based, or when we have access to a lot of wood? Obviously, in Victoria 3, this is a very powerful region where you can gain access, like having access to a lot of chops is really, really good. And so it'll be interesting to see that how this shapes and develops economies. So I said take a look at this kind of when we were looking at this topography one, because I think if we scroll down, that's not the one I wanted to scroll down to. Where's the resource one? All right, let's scroll down to the resource one here, where if you look at, so first of all, as far as the resource maps go, this is the one that I think, I just wanted to talk about this, that has the most clean kind of divisions. You see broader swaths of lumber, wheat, all this type of stuff than you did before. Like, it's all stretching through. It's a ton of lumber. We see lots of fur, and it's not as speckled as before. And then we see this huge band of stuff of iron, stone, and all these types of things over here. And I just thought it was neat how it kind of followed the mountains, and of course that makes a lot of sense. Scrolling back up, let's kind of take a look at this is the culture map mode, where we are going to have Polish, Ruthenian, Prussian, and this is going to be very mixed culture. You can tell from all the kind of splicing lines going through. The Baltic lands have an interesting mix of cultures. Western Baltic culture represents the people speaking a Western Baltic language. Old Prussian, Yatvingians, Curonians, etc. Sorry for my pronunciations. While Prussian is still the culture of the German settlers of that area. On that style, we have Baltic German, culture in the lands of Lithuania and Estonia that also got settled by German-speaking people. The divide between Polish, Ruthenian, and Akatasian might be too deep, so we'll most likely add a bit of more mixed situation in the borders between the cultures. Yeah, so this is a really clean divide, so that would maybe make some sense. We see religion map mode. This is the most religious map. Oh, no. We accidentally clicked back. This is the most interesting religious map mode I think we've seen, where we are seeing several different things. We're seeing this Romuva. We're seeing a kind of barrier between people in terms of Orthodox versus Catholicism, rather than just like the entirely Catholic maps. A region with much more interesting religious setup, you're telling me. Apart from the Catholic Orthodox divide, you also see the Romuva religion, which was a hot topic in 1337. Shall the Dukes of Lithuania convert to Catholicism or stay pagan? Red stripes to the north are the popular animist, or are other animist populations also disregard the Sunni region to the southeast. We had to review all the pops of the Pantic Steppes as well, so we do see what this would be. I think this is the first time we've seen no, I think we've seen Muslim on the map mode before, but it is going to be this green color. And then we see the raw goods, which we discussed earlier. From the distribution of materials, maybe a couple of things catch your eye. The first is that there's an amber good present on the shores of the Baltic Sea. We do see a lot of amber up here. The second is that the Tatra mountains in Slovakia and have a bunch of precious metals, which make them very interesting area to exploit and develop. Yeah, so this is kind of what we were noticing a little bit here. I wasn't noticing the precious ones as much, but you do see gold, silver, gems, clay, tin, and it's just really thickly, like the other mountainous regions we haven't seen as thickly dense with the mineral resources, I don't think. And so it'll be interesting if there are. So if some of the buildings you build help you to develop adjacent locations, then that's going to up the complexity of evaluating where to build what so much. And because if you care about what is adjacent, now suddenly placement becomes really, really important, and it's not just like, oh, we place all the stuff wherever. And then regions where you have this like pocketed area of all this precious minerals become, I think, much more useful for intentional development. I mean, I think if this is the case, but yeah, just this tight band of having a ton of resources down here in the kind of left mountain range is interesting. And again, really like, okay, let's take a look at the map from last week just real quick in terms of it's a lot more, it feels like there's a lot less contiguous types of resources here, and we see kind of in the mountainous region here not as much minerals, but here, like, the lumber is much more contiguous, the fur, the wheat, it all feels really like there's a lot of wild game locations that are adjacent to each other that all have the same good. And maybe they are going to come in and they're going to mix things up a little bit more, and this is just kind of a bit of a placeholder, but I thought that was interesting. And population map, they gave us something that was much cleaner on the eyes, where they have grouped together the population by country. I think they might have done that before. Really trying to look at this map mode as well, and like trying to figure out how many people are where and like this type of stuff is really, really hard on the eyes. I'm not a huge fan of that, but we do see it looks like we have 1.8 million in Poland. I think this is Poland. 1.5 million in Lithuania, the Grand Duchy. It looks like we have 1 million in the Teutonic Order, and an unknown number that ends in, I assume this is a decimal point, 0.2 blank million. I think is this Bohemia or is this Bohemia? I can't remember which is which. Let's take a quick look. Who's in control of this this region that we thought was so interesting here? So it looks like the mountainous region is not controlled by Poland, but is instead controlled by this must be Hungary, and so Hungary, which controls this region with all these resources here. Really, I mean, it'll be interesting. I'm so curious to see how the feel of the resource distribution affects the decision points you make regarding building your economy. Yeah, but we see a lot of horses, wheat, and lumber here in Poland and Lithuania, as well as wild game. Yeah, I do think this is kind of more horses than we've seen in the past. So obviously that puts them well positioned to make cavalry. Kind of scroll through the population. Population is divided into country and location views. I wish that there was a bit of a heat map, or it'd be much easier to look at with the heat map. 2 notes: the total population of Estonia is not 700,000 people. That's the total for its owner. Denmark. Second, we've read your feedback regarding the population map mode, and we'll take a look at how to improve the visualization of the data, making it better for you. Fantastic. Yeah, as of right now, this is just like hard to look at in a way that I can tell what's going on at a glance. And I'm sure you guys feel the same way. And here we have the market map mode. Edit markets. Edit markets? Is this markets? Okay, I don't know what they're editing. But this is the market map mode. We see Riga, which is right there. So I got the Riga place correct. We see Krakow over here. We see Kiev. This must be Hungary, although I don't know what province this is. So some of you might know what location this is in Hungary. We see Novgorod up here. All this kind of makes sense. We see all of the precious metal area kind of contained here in Hungary, which is a bit interesting. But overall, not the craziest type of map mode. I think that this one is this Lubeck? And then this is some Bohemian market as well. It'll be interesting to see all of these kind of squeezed together when they finally are. But that's it for today. The region that we'll show next is Italy. And so we are starting to get a really fleshed out view of Europe overall. Very, very excited to be seeing this one. Was pretty cool. This resource map mode, I'm so keen on like learning all the buildings and like what the resources inputs and stuff are and how efficient all these buildings are, because then you can sort of start to pin down what resources are best, and all of this will become a lot more meaningful. But I think that as we acquire more information, we're gonna have to come back over and like pour over these types of maps and try and evaluate not just where are the best places, but how do we change our strategy based on the resources we have available in terms of building. And I really hope the strategy changes and it's not just like, well, you know, this is the best building, so you just import it type of thing. The dynamism is going to be much more interesting. But we did get a nice little overview of kind of this region with Poland Poland and Lithuania here in Eastern Europe. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do the YouTube algorithm thing, and other than that, have a happy Friday.